Oh, sound like you? Hey, you look good.
Yeah.
It's going to take a couple of minutes.
Thank you. Sure.
Just let that music bring us in.
Oh, I was just about to check. I'm like, is that my music playing?
No, that's mine. I just break it up a little bit. I played the intro, the first two. Oh, God. Oh, man. Whew.
Final show for the day, then you can go back.
What's that?
Later. It's your final show for the day, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the final SOULSPEAKS. Yeah, I'm working in 2 shifts now, so I usually wow, man, I'm still trying to land. Yeah, not shows. I'm trying to work on putting some video productions together.
Oh.
I don't know why exactly. I kind of do, but I don't really know why. But it's just been a lot of downloading and then categorizing, and now I'm going through each one of them, and there's a lot of them, obviously, and trying to find little nuggets of gold. Yeah, so I don't even know. I mean, but I was thinking, well, maybe I'll jump on later tonight, my night, your day, my night, my early morning, and do something. I did yesterday. I used to do a lot of spirit walks and solo things, and I mean that's how I started. But so I kind of feel the call to do that. But I don't know. We'll just see what happens. I don't know what's going to happen. God, I feel like I just came out of a freaking tornado or something. I was talking to the last guest, and Christine, and I was conscious, but I was like, man, something's coming in, and whew, man, okay, all good. It's 2 minutes, so we should have everybody come. Yeah, we got 25 people in the house. So we got Alisha Brache, our beautiful sister from Australia, over there in the Nirvana-esque part of the world where there's no suppression. I got to be careful. I just got back on. That was a miracle getting back on.
I know. Congratulations.
I know. I got this note. They're like 10 to 14 days. And when I read out that, no, I'm not going to let that enter my space. And then I messaged Morgan last night and told her, can you tell the community what happened? And then she's like, wrote back. It's like, well, you want to use my account? And I'm like, no, I'm just going to go to bed and I'll deal with it tomorrow when I wake up. And when I woke up, it's the first thing I did. I just connected and I thought, well, let's see what happens. And then it worked out. So,
Yeah, I saw Morgan's post and then she messaged me and my intuition said, no, I'll wake up in the morning and it'll all be
see what happens. Yeah, it's all good. So I was excited when I saw your name on the calendar. I'm like, is she Hero's Journey? And she puts THJ next to him. This ought to be interesting. I know. I remember talking about your life a little bit, but more of like the standard kind of thing. So let me cut the music. So I'll give it over to you so I can get my shift back together.
Sure.
You're in Sydney, right? Are you in Sydney?
No, I'm in Melbourne.
Melbourne. I don't know why I said Sydney. Yeah. I knew you were in Melbourne. Yeah, God, there's a whole bunch of y'all over there. I mean, just bunches and bunches. Something major is going on over there, no doubt. Yeah. Judith Kuzel wrote me a note because I sent her she asked me. I mean, she didn't ask me. I offered to send her the MP4 from the last show, and she sent me a note, and she was like, "Yeah, there's big things going on over there in NSW, and now I know why Morgan went over there because there's some important stuff." And I've been feeling that. I've been feeling like, and then we had a session, and I think she wrote about it, the octahedron, and then she met some people, and it's just like, oh yeah, this is going down. Yeah, so it makes sense that in the place where it hasn't made sense, that that enough is enough frequency that's popping out is going to show itself over there at some point. That's just what I feel. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but yeah, we can talk about that after a while. I want to hear what happened to you, what made you, what got you here. I know it was an easy ride.
Yeah, it was so
Yeah.
easy.
Right.
Just breeze through. Yeah, I don't know where to begin. I think going back, looking at maybe my first show with you, which was going back last year sometime, I may have spoken a little bit about like my intuitive gifts and things, but I never really got to speak about like the journey that is most relevant to me and dear to my heart. And I think a big part of what my purpose is, which is really talking about, and I'm going to use words interchangeably, because it's such a vast topic, but my own experience and I, as I say this, I talk as a greater, larger collective, because I know that I'm the voice of many individuals going through similar journeys, but very much around the, interdimensional conception, New Earth children, which is, a big part of what accelerated my journey to get me here today. So I'd love to talk a little bit about that in broader terms or more personal terms. We'll just go from there. So
we're all for it. Yeah, that's what it's all about.
And I'd also love to dialogue with you, because I think we were talking around about a year ago, when you and Morgan, you'll have to remind me or jolt my memory around the golden child. And I found that really interesting, because I was like, oh, I wonder if that's tapping into some of what I'm going through and other people are going through on this journey of birthing new energies or birthing new children into the planet. Yeah. So I really don't know where to begin, Todd.
Yeah. Did you, I mean, like, some people had, I don't know, I mean, like just these seminal moments, right? I remember like in high school, we had to read this book, and it was called, I couldn't, I was like, probably a lot of us, I wasn't real into school, but I remember reading this book. It was called Lilies in the Field. And I don't remember all of it, but I think it took place like on a farm. It was a family. The central character was a feminine, I'd say like a teenage girl with a lot of spirit, and I always liked to write. And I remember it's probably the only A+ I ever got in school. And there was just this point, and I remember reading the book, and there was this point, and I think she was like running. It wasn't like a horror movie or anything, but she was in a field, and she was, flat on her stomach, and maybe had fallen or something. Whatever the oppression was, whatever the frequency of oppression was in the book, at that point, something happened. Like she just went, enough is enough. I don't care if I'm 15 years old. I don't care. And I remember it just really grabbed me, and I wrote a, whatever it is, a book report or whatever you call it. But yeah, things like that, seminal moments, things that stand out, those type of, points in your life where you just find, maybe that is, the acceleration of the golden child energy, or the expansion, or whatever you want to call it. I don't know, but whatever you want to do. And if you get stuck, I'll probe you, poke you, whatever.
Awesome. Appreciate it. All right. Well, I guess to go back to when this part of my journey began, because I see my life in two very separate, probably as most of we do, we go through our, third dimensional life where, we live in a certain way and we have beliefs and things like that. And then something happens and everything changes. And I call it the holy shit moment.
Right. There you go. That's what we're looking for right there.
Yeah. And it's a point where your life changes and nothing is ever the same again. And it almost, I saw it as a point where I went from having or walking on a path of exercising my own free will to connecting with purely devoting my life to divine will and what I was here to do, and not being swayed off course. And this happened to me around 2015 after Kundalini awakening. I think I spoke about that a little bit with you last time. But it became so apparently clear to me at that point that, I mean, I'd always known that I was here for some sort of important reason. I could never really work it out, the details of it, but you follow the breadcrumbs, you do, you know, as you're guided to do. And it was in that moment that I knew that something massive was about to happen, and I had no context of what that was. And I remember during that time, I had so much energy running through me just all the time, 24/7, that I just kept dialoguing with the universe and saying, you know, I'm here to be of service in the highest level capacity. Show me what I'm here to do. You know, basically. And around that time was, there was a lot of things that didn't make sense. And when you look back and you're like, oh, okay, all the signs were there. And it was around sort of immaculate conception and, you know, bringing forth children. I was having a lot of dreams on a nightly basis of these children, which was quite familiar to me because I had started seeing them probably 12 years prior to that, through the different sort of program I would go through. And I had this instinctual knowing for a very long time, probably ever since I was born, that there would be a significance around bringing special children into this world. I didn't know how that would come about. Wow. So it was towards the end of, the beginning of 2016, after the Kundalini awakening. There was a period of time where everything accelerated exponentially, and so many things happened at full speed that I couldn't even really keep up with it. It was like a daily occurrence of interacting with staff, family, and starting to have conscious contact and waking up with weird things happening, you know, like being knocked out for 9 or 10 hours at a time, knowing that I was having contact, waking up with weird incision marks and things like that. So I knew that something was going on, but not really sure exactly what. And so just to fast forward to the beginning of 2016, I was overseas at the time. I was connecting with someone who's very significant as a part of this. I'm careful to talk about it now because personal circle changed.
Yeah. Uh-oh. Thought it was me. She'll come back. God, I want to hear this. Oh, there you are. You're back.
Am I back?
Yeah, you froze. You were just saying that you were out of the country and that somebody was involved. You didn't want to mention it because of personal, and that's good. And then you froze.
Oh, of course.
Do you have any incisions? Do you have any incisions on you? No, I'm kidding. Oh, that's tricky.
Let me check. So the night that the occurrence happened, I felt like I'd come into a full cycle completion, because maybe 6 to 7 years in leading up to that, there was a lot of dreams that I was guided to go to certain places, and where I was overseas at the time was one of them. And so I've always been guided by my dreams in messages. So I was grieving the loss of my dog that had passed away, and there was a lot of very strange things that happened, and I was processing a lot of information at that time, and I kept getting all day this kind of concept of immaculate conception, and to me that was quite foreign. I'd never grown up religiously at all, so it was the only context that I knew of, you know, conception through other means than, you know,
right.
Physical intercourse. I went through a process that evening of what I can only call it like a soul merging.
Yeah.
experience.
Wow.
And I woke up the next day and I was very different. I felt things happening in my body. I felt a lot of energy. To be honest, I felt quite raw and tender, as though I had almost had surgery. It's the only way I can describe it. And I spent the entire day looking at my stomach, looking for incision marks because I thought I'd cut or hurt myself in some way.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And anyway, so there was like a week there. I was traveling back to Melbourne, very much processing so many things that I couldn't comprehend at that time. And it was the flight from New Zealand, from Auckland to Melbourne, that because I kept saying to the universe, like, for days and days, what is happening? You need to tell me what's happening. I don't understand. And the person that I was traveling with had bought something and was very insistent that I read it. And I was just not, I was not in the mood. I was just like, just, and anyway, the plane had just taken off from Auckland to Melbourne, and I picked it up and I looked at it, and on the front cover, it was National Geographic magazine. And on the front cover was a picture of Mary. And as soon as I saw that image, I just downloaded all this information from basically connecting all the dots in my life from about the age of 14 up until that moment. And I was in a space of disbelief. It was like I knew that that was something that was taking place, yet my human couldn't accept that. And I just remember getting off the plane and messaging a friend of mine, and I said to her, because leading up to it, I have a lot of intuitive friends around me. I always have, and a lot of them had been consistently saying, I think that you're pregnant, or you're going to have this child, blah, blah, blah. There was just, all the synchronicities were there, and it was not only my own experience that I was going through, but it was other people, in your reality, kind of bringing that, highlighting that into my attention. So it's such a big blur. I got off the plane and I messaged my friend and I said to her, you need to get to my house right now. and she just said, oh, you must be pregnant. And I just said, just get to my house now. I didn't say anything else. And she said, she goes, it's not normal, like, it's immaculate. And I just said, get to my house now. And so we at that point, everything sort of transpired very, very quickly, and I didn't really know what to make of this. It was, I felt I didn't have a lot of answers or information around what was going to happen next. Honestly, if I look back now in hindsight, I was like, I really didn't know or understand, and I was trying to explain things to people in my life of what was happening, which when I look back now, I can laugh at myself and go, wow, I must have sounded absolutely crazy to those people around me. And
except
so,
your friend.
Well, there was a lot of people that were quite validating, because, I would have random people contact me. I mean, there was so much validation that I think I needed at that time. Friends that I hadn't spoken to in many years were contacting me saying, what is happening with you? I had this strange dream that you and I were on a spacecraft and there was something happening with your belly. Just so many wild things that I was like, whoa.
So how long ago was this? I forgot.
This was the beginning of 2016.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, that's right.
Yeah. So just to, I guess, fast track, that was in the beginning. And I just assumed that I would just go through a normal pregnancy, which is so ridiculous, and thinking about it now. But I spent, at that point, everything in my life collapsed in the physical sense, job, money, friends, family, the whole lot. When everything exits out of your life and you're like forced to sit in this space. 2016 was a very hard year for me to grasp with my new reality, to grasp with potentially what was taking place, but also wanting to almost discredit the fact that I was going through this experience because it was so insane. And I say that from a very human standpoint, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and wanting to just life to go back to normal, or, you know, to
Right. Okay.
laugh about that now, Todd. But you know, I was going through tremendous expansion in my body. I could feel kind of different sensations of energetic and also physical embodiment. But so I started to research, because it was like my mind had to understand that A, this is possible. B, are there others? Because I can't be the only one. C, my mind has to understand this. So I spent a long time sort of researching history. You know, I started with not the Bible, but the biblical story. That was my first frame of reference. And then I sort of jumped around ancient aliens and, you know, anything I could sort of get any sort of information of, you know. And I met a lot of wonderful people in that space. It was a very hard and dark time, but there was a lot of beauty in connecting with other women who had gone through or were going through similar experiences, which was incredibly validating and comforting to know that I wasn't the only one. Needless to say, towards the end of that year and trying to anticipate what would happen next, I started to stumble across all this information about people going through, you know, longer gestation periods, and people who'd gone through these energetic fluxes of pregnancy for years and years and years. And at that point, I fell apart. I was like, I can't keep going on this journey. This has to end. Like, at that time, it was my greatest fear to face the fact that this could go on indefinitely, you know. And so I think it would have been around October that year. You know, there was a lot of dialogue between going into the dark night of the soul and being completely shut off from any kind of connection to higher self, and then having these moments of clarity to really ask, what do I do now? You know. And the answer that came through really strongly was that, because I felt like through my research, I felt like I found pieces of the puzzle, but nothing that kind of formulated to really explain. There was no guidebook. There was no, this is what you're going through. This is what you're going to expect, you know, and this is the time frame that it's going to happen. That's what I wanted, you know, but that was not the case. And, you know, I could relate to some aspects of women who go through like hybrid experiences.
Yeah.
I could relate to what I often say is I feel like part of my journey was to kind of bridge the world of galactic and esoteric spiritual, because I feel like it's a blend of both. I don't think it's one or the other. And in that night I went to bed and I was like, why do I have to go through all of this? Like, what do I do with it now? And when I woke up the next morning, the answer came back really clearly. It was like, you needed to go through and experience the vast majority of what is possible so that you can write about it and help other women who are going through and will go through these experiences to kind of bring all that information together. And
Wow.
yeah.
That's trippy. I can only think of two things. One, we had a show last year. Our friend Hung Nguyen from BC, Canada, and Julie Dara Roberts, our Soulogy cosmologist. Well, anyway, it just happened. You know, we were doing a show. We were collaborating together, and one of them started talking about how they had gone through a pregnancy and birthed, I think, twin dragons. And then the other one said, "Oh yeah, I had one, and I birthed a dragon." And so then there was women in the audience making comments about their own experience And we never dove real deep into it. And then the other thing, of course, I think of, you mentioned the hybrid thing, the accounts that you find when you do research of women being aware one way or the other that they have babies, they've had a pregnancy, and they have children. Most of the ones, I think all the ones that I've read about have been in relation to the galactic realm. Somehow or another, the human aspect going through the gestation, and maybe from a more literal, standpoint, it's they're seeded, and then at some point somehow it's extracted, and you know what I mean. I don't know, but somebody asked the question: was she pregnant? Did you take a pregnancy test? What exactly happened? Was there obviously there was a point of understanding that something had been conceived. Was there a birthing to it, or was the birthing the information you got that morning that you were explaining when you completed it?
Yeah, I don't often talk about it. My story is out there. I've spoken publicly about this since 2018, and I think a lot of people. It's still, look, I'll be honest with you, Todd, like it takes a lot of courage, and it's not the easiest thing for me to talk about. But I think my drive to talk about it is that because I know of so many other women that are going through these experiences the same way I am. And, that they're going through those stages of isolation and thinking that they're crazy, being misunderstood, all those sorts of things. And so my push to talk about these things, as uncomfortable as it can be for me, is to really show, be the voice for women who, a lot of people don't want to talk about this. And I guess I just want to bring it to light. So to this stage, there has been no birthing. I believe that process will take place at an inevitable time frame. I still go through all the symptoms as I did. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I remember reading like one account where the lady was talking about she had 12. And so it makes me wonder, is it more than one? Is it one long pregnancy, or is it, you know what I mean? And like I can't relate to the situation, obviously, because I haven't experienced it. I don't want to know like the details because that's your private, and I can understand what I'm trying to get at is it difficult to talk about because it's weird, and is it or is it just a really sensitive kind of personal thing that you would keep to yourself, not because what people would think, but because it's just something personal?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think initially I started to share a lot because in the beginning, the way that my mind works was like, oh my goodness, if I'm going through this and I'm not the only one, if we're rewriting history right now, what does that mean for what's happening to humanity? Like, that was my initial take. If I could be going through this right now, this means that we're on the precipice of, this radical change for humanity, because this is considered miraculous or impossible. And we're moving into times where what we would have considered that to be, to start to become the new normal. And so I wanted to share it vast and wide. And then I realized very quickly that people just weren't ready to hear or understand. And, that made me shut off, and I shut off for a long time,
At some point, you, God, it would have been good to run into Mary Rodwell back then, wouldn't it? She would have been like, "Oh, this is just page 62 out of the New Human workbook." But but at some point,
I did contact her because I went through a phase of contacting as many people as I could.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. And I appreciate you sharing this. This is obviously, it's like a huge thing. I mean, that's why I said I can't really relate to it. I was just trying to understand. But at some point, you started running into women that were experiencing the same thing. That must have been a huge validation. And maybe did you have like a resurgence after that, or where you said, okay, I can do this. I can do this now because I know there's more out there, and they need. And plus, you were told that, really.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I knew that there were others, and that I had to find them, and that. I mean, I do have a lot of information. I mean, back earlier, as I said, I really didn't even have a grasp of what was happening. I understand the process a lot more now. I realize that it's a process of, obviously not in linear time, because it's a process of bringing high dimensional souls through into physicality to be birthed. And I realize that it is in alignment with the Earth's process as well.
Yeah.
And
go ahead. I was going to ask. I mean, like the physical birth part of it. I mean, is that like what we would think, like a physical in the 3D, or is it? I wonder if it's physical. It's probably all of the above, actually. But like in another aspect of you somewhere, are these women? I don't know. But I like what you said about being on the precipice, because it would make sense that these, okay, like the reality of our multidimensionality would bleed into our conscious awakened state, and I wonder if this is one of, or not, maybe even the big one. Like, oh, by the way, there's a whole bunch more people here, and this is how it works. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the fact that it's a mother, the mother part of it too, because that's a very powerful thing, which is really, you could replace the word mother with universe, right? I mean, you might have umpteen universes out there, I mean, but it's a big deal though. I can feel your energy too. That's why, when you said what you said, it's a little bit of both. I can feel like, maybe we're merging a little bit or something, but I can feel the depth of it. It's, well, it looks like it's bottomless. It feels like it's bottomless, but I can feel the depth of something, that obviously is very, very, I don't want to use the word serious, but it is serious, but it's like very profound. Have you shared, I mean, like you said, you have a lot of information on it. It's correlating with the Earth itself. And are there things that, you just talk. You just talk. I mean, I want to support you to do whatever you want to do. And I can feel it. Like we're doing something here, Wow. It's pretty powerful.
A lot of the dreams that I've had, because I guess that's always been a question in my mind of how will this journey end? And, if I had my own human way, I wouldn't publicly talk about it until, the conclusion of this journey, and I can tell it start to finish. But the truth of the matter is that that's not how it was designed, and to share as much information as I can as it unfolds. A lot of the dreams that I've had in terms of like the birthing process is very much correlated to high energy coming into the planet. I mean, going back a few years ago, in the beginning, I had the first dream that was kind of showing me an indication of what would happen at the time of being able to give birth. And it was very similar to what a lot of people describe as the event or the solar flash.
Really?
Yeah. At the time when I had that dream, I didn't know about that. So, that was a piece that came. And I think that's how I found Alison Coe and her work, because she very clearly described what I'd seen in the first couple of dreams.
Okay.
So I guess my understanding of this birthing process for myself and as I said, speaking on behalf of other women, is that the earth has to be at a certain vibrational level for these children to come into the world. And of course, that they're a part of bringing in that frequency as well.
Mind blown. I did not expect this. I mean, I've been listening to some, and not that this is just like, wow, mind blown. This is like these stories that we've been hearing this month are very human oriented. And this one is too, but it has this multi-dimensional, flavor to it. Like, whoa, like, I consider myself somebody who, tries to be more open every day, but I've never even thought about something like this. I mean, like the possibilities of what you're bringing to the table here. First of all, I had no idea. And second of all, it could be so many things, but what you're saying basically is that there is a direct relation to what Allison and others have talked about. And I've listened to her stuff and I know what you're talking about. In fact, I met her in Sedona. She's a very nice lady. But like, wow. I mean, it's almost like, because it's nonlinear and like you said, the frequency of the earth has to get to a certain point. I mean, that's just like mind blowing. Like, what does that mean? Is this an energetic thing we're talking about? Because it doesn't sound like it. It sounds like, from what I'm getting from you, that there is a physical outcome, right? And that's pretty potent. I mean, really, in all ways.
Yeah.
Don't ask me about the golden child. It sounds like we should be asking you. Have you made contact? I'm sorry, there was a lag. I wasn't trying to cut you off.
Yeah,
I feel you. God.
No. Have I made contact?
What I mean is, and not necessarily like, your standard ET, appears in your bedroom thing. I'm talking about maybe contact with the energy. Women come on the show and they talk about how their physical child that they bear later, has actually been communicating with them when they were in the womb. I mean, to your knowledge, do you feel like you've interacted with your child? Am I the only one that's feeling all this? Alisha, what's going on? Wow. Am I the only one that's feeling this? I've never had a discussion with somebody about this to this degree. I hope she comes back. Oh. I don't think that's interference. I think it was the frequency. Yeah. Look, she's coming back. Here she goes. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Internet. Are we back?
Yeah, we're back. What is happening? They were saying they could hear galactic. I couldn't hear it here. This is supposed to happen. I mean, this is like big.
I'm not surprised. Yeah, I've had contact with my children for a very long time. When I feel at a point of being lost or not understanding where to next in this journey, I'll always, I see them as guides and, to help me navigate the process, to understand it, and to do the best that I can. But one thing that comes to mind to share, because I'm very blessed. I get emails from women all over the world every day sharing their story. And beautiful words to thank because it helps them. And I think the uncanny thing is, there's a lot of details that I keep quite private. And I think the most miraculous and uncanny thing is that when these women contact me and share their stories with me, they include such specific details that no one could ever know that correlate directly to mine. So yeah, that's when you know that there's something bigger happening, that is a shared experience, obviously not by everyone. But, I really believe that as we integrate more and more into New Earth, I think that my journey won't be so unusual. I think that as we move more into the energetic, higher vibrational space, things like conception through energetic merging to bring forth the child, it will become more widely done or accepted. I don't know, the new normal, but I don't think that it's new. I think that it's ancient. I think these practices have been on this planet for a long time. Through my research going back to Lemuria, this seemed to be the way that divine partners would connect and merge and bring through children in that way. And I think we're tapping into that to bring that back.
Yeah. I got
Of
this
course,
flash.
Yeah.
We have a lag, so we're not interrupting each other. I just got to tell you, because this just came in. I got this this image. I was in, and this actually happened. I was in Catholic school. I'm like 5 years old, kindergarten, and the nun goes up to the chalkboard and draws a woman and a man, and then draws like a circle in their heart. And obviously it was meant to program us, but she drew a circle in the heart, and she said, when a man and woman get married, and then she drew like a line between the heart emerging, and said, this is how a baby's born. And for some reason, now that I'm taken back to that moment talking to you, which is not a coincidence, it really resonated with me, and I believed it. And I understand it was programming, but there was something truthful about it. You know what I mean? And this is what you're talking about. Thank you.
Thank you. I wanted to come on here and talk about this, and I kind of waited. Sometimes I guess I get that I allow other things to take precedent, or I think, well, now's not the right time. You got to feel into its time. And speaking about Alison, I had a sense of her 2 days ago, so I'm still processing a lot of, and one of the things that really I think I took away from that session was the fact that how important it is to share this information. Back when, in the beginning, when I was trying to research and understand and really research as much as I could. There was barely any information out there except for, I think the only thing that I found that really resonated was this concept of interdimensional conception that was written in a Drunvalo book, back in the early 2000s. And when I read that, it just struck me, and I was like, yeah, that's what it is. Like it's, and I kind of feel proud of myself because initially when I started writing all these articles talking about it, I didn't put my name to it. I couldn't, it's this random thing on the internet. I had a blog. It was called Birthing a New World, and it was talking specifically around that. And I gathered all the information that I'd found that was helpful for me and referenced it, just to leave it there for other people to find. And and then as the journey unfolds, the more I became more confident to speak more openly. And, the first time I spoke about it publicly was in 2018 at a conference here in Australia. And I talked about the entire journey up until that point. And amongst maybe, I don't know, there was a couple hundred people there. I reckon I had a good 10 or so women come up to me and thank me because it helped them understand things that they were going through. I mean, that's high numbers,
Yeah, it is. 10 yeah. 10 in a whole city, 10 in Melbourne, to me, would be a high number. I mean, for something that you never consider.
Yeah.
There's two things that happen when you said that you had the session with Allison, and you said, one of the things that came out of it was that you knew that you were here to share it. As soon as you said that, I looked at the live count and it said 44:44, meaning we were on 44 minutes and 40, right in exact moment. And then our friend Jed, he just wrote this. He says, I must have missed most of this for some reason, but my daughter Chalise came in loud and clear and is waving, saying hi, and a big yes to whatever you're sharing. She prompted me to write this. You can't make this shift up, man. This is like golden code, golden information. I mean, we were, when Morgan came up with this, like the whole idea is, Soulogy being the platform for the Mother God, the voice of the Mother, the voices of the Mother Goddess, the voices of the Mother Goddess, and you think, okay, well, my human brain says, oh, well, they're going to tell their story and Morgan will step up. Well, I didn't know it went this far. I mean, this is, and it would be different if you were the only one, but you're not. If there was 10 in a group of 200, not to mention how many more will start remembering because they ran across you or someone who heard you and then shared their story.
I'm so blessed that I guess through the hard path and doing things that are uncomfortable, the amount of people women who have contacted me, just because someone shared a video that I did talking about it, and the tears of joy and relief that there was some answers out there. Yeah, it kind of makes it all worthwhile in the sense of, putting aside my human ness in this. But one thing I do want to share is that, there are so many variants of this journey. Because everyone's path is unique. And I think that for some women, it is similar to me to actually birth children into this world, as part of the new world, and to raise them and be the best guardian or custodian for them, as a parent. But I think that there are other women or other couples that are birthing creations and projects and energy onto the planet. Like, it's not, there's not one size fits all, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. That would have been my answer. And I remember you asking me, either I was on your show or you were on mine. I don't remember. And I remember you asking me about the golden child energy. My answer would have been a lot like what you just said, except for yours is much more expansive in my mind. Obviously, because of the experience you've had. It was, you said 2016, and you mentioned a couple times the hard part, you know, the tough part. I mean, was that pretty much, you don't have to be specific, but I mean, in a general way, was that because of you couldn't tell anyone and it was weird and it was just a lot on your humanness, like you were saying?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I guess being very misunderstood, but not really understanding myself fully, and a lot of I truly believe that was when the real work began for me, because I think that to be able to bring children through in this way, you know, there's a lot of purification to do with the bloodlines and your own personal trauma. So I guess all that was coming up in a very accelerated rate for me. My theory is that to be able to be a pure vessel to bring children through in this way, it coincides with your own ascension process. It is a path to ascension. You know, there's many ways. So, yeah, I mean, I, like many people on this journey, rapidly lost so much, but gained so much more. Yeah.
Wow.
I still don't have a contact with a lot, you know. I was very much a social butterfly, Todd, like very much a people's person, and that part has changed.
Yeah. Yeah. If I didn't do this show, I wouldn't talk to I
But,
wouldn't
you know,
be talking to anybody.
Started, it pushed me into doing the work that I was called here to do, I guess, you know, because I was I was always trying to, like, avoid my path in some shape or form, you know.
There's about a 20-second
So
lag.
I think that it took me about to kind of establish a new level of balance in my own life and direction. There was a 2-year period. Oh, yeah, I think 2018.
This is wild. This is wild. Wow. She'll be back. Wow, what a wild, unexpected gift. I mean, this is amazing. Here she comes. Okay. Okay, you're back. Okay.
Do we have a lag, or?
Yeah, there's a lag, so I'm just going to be totally quiet. You just, you know, I just want to support you. But yeah, I was just telling them, this is wild. This is, like, you know, totally unexpected. I mean, again, just considering the human journey, you know, the human is the hero. But yeah, this is even like at an exponential level. I can't even imagine having that type of experience and it being, I was going to say be consistent in my life, but it's just it's not even that. It is part of you. It is you. It's part of you. It's you know what I mean? It's not like an occurrence. That's what I was thinking when you brought it up, and I thought, oh no, whoa. This is like an ongoing. This is part of you.
Yeah.
Like I'm looking at a womb here. I mean, I'm not trying to be funny, but I mean, and then of course to what you're giving us too is you're human. Wow.
Yeah, I think you said that really well, because I do see it as an extension of myself.
Yeah.
I go through my life. I have everyday challenges. I have, successes and wins, and I do a lot of work, multidimensionally and otherwise, and try and do the best that I can every day to be a better version of myself and to support humanity. And to be honest, like I guess my driving force is a little bit selfishly, but I'm like, the quicker we get this shift into a better place, I can wrap this part of the journey up and start the new, the new journey, which I wholeheartedly look forward to embracing. But I'll be honest, like I can go through periods where I forget that I'm going through this experience, because it's become such a merged aspect of my life. And, and then I have these moments, when you go through those heavier moments, or though you're exhausted all the time. And I know, I had this moment last night where I was like, oh, my body hurts, I'm tired. This is whatever is happening in the world. And then I look down and I go, but I'm a walking miracle and I'm proof that this world is changing. So, it's kind of snaps back into let's just get on with it, Yeah.
Get her done. Yeah. So these other women that you've inspired, their stories are the same.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That must bring us.
Even to some degree, some of the women that I've met went through the beginning stages at the same time, so that says something about what was happening on the planet at that time. Yeah. I think that I was reading something that you or Morgan wrote the other day, and I looked at it. I was like, "Oh, 2015." I kind of giggled. I was like, "Oh yeah, that was when everything kind of was ramping up for me." That there was something really special about the end of that year. Truly there was.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and it's been a wild ride. Plus, I mean, there is a heavy galactic component to it. I can't not talk about that. That is a very real aspect of it. And I see it as, and this is what I try and make very, very clear, that I see it as a support system to this process for me. I don't see it as a level of interference or being how do I say this? Being experimented on against my will. It's nothing like that at all.
Yeah.
The galactic experiences that I had prior to and ongoing is, honestly, I believe that I'm being supported and monitored through this process, because I don't have a doctor or a midwife or anything that I can go to, that is completely out of the question in my mind. I mean, I could be surprised, and I have met, midwives along the way, and various different practitioners that I've shared with and spoken to. And I think one thing that really comes back to me, because I also know women who've gone through the birth process and already have their children too. And one thing that one of those women said to me, and she said, people would be surprised how common this is. this is not, it's not as uncommon as you would think. It's just that nobody talks about it. It's so beyond our human level of understanding that, and it's sacred. It's a sacred too. So it's, having both of those components, I can understand why women don't want to openly share and talk about it. Yeah.
I can't even imagine. It's a lot to hear.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that what is immaculate to the human, to the human comprehension or whatever, a standalone human aspect? Do you feel like that there's, I don't know how to say this, like an external masculine energy involved, or is it, God, this is just like, you can go all over the place. Like, or is it an internal, or is it both? Like, whoa. I mean, because I saw, I can remember doing, in researching and running across a handful of these stories. And like I said, I remember one lady saying, I've got 12 kids. And she, I guess, by our definition, human aspect standalone, I see him in dimension. I talk to him, right? I mean, you said you get guidance from your children. I mean, is that, I mean, is that like just through the day-to-day, kind of like the help in the day-to-day, trying to assimilate all this stuff and be a functional 3D human being? Or is it more like general information, like, hey, this is part of the Earth template. This is one of the components of it, and there's a bunch of you all over the place. Is it that type of information?
It varies. I mean, it can be that kind of information, or, to be honest, on a human level, I think a lot of the time that the spontaneous direct contact or communication that comes through is times when my human's not coping very well, and I just kind of need that reassurance. Yeah. But I think I do want to speak to, the fact that, and I guess that's the hardest part to talk about, that the majority of these experiences often come through soul connections. There's a lot of different names and terminologies, but generally it's through two people that share a very high similar frequency that enables this process, alchemical process, to take place. And in most cases, there is a physical representation of that masculine walking on this planet. Not always, not always, but, for the most part. That's where I say, because when I was with somebody, there wasn't physical intimacy, but I was in the presence of somebody, and there was a merging that took. As I said, that part of the story is kind of hard to talk about because circumstances have changed. But that's, where I look at the different aspects of it, the interdimensional part is what I believe I've gone through, is through that energetic merging between two souls. But then there is this, the science definition that talks about how, an egg can be fertilized through a spark of light, which people call light conception. Parthenogenesis is the scientific name. Believe me, I've researched all of this stuff.
Wow.
I did not come in with this information. I've had to kind of, and so there was a great guy who's written a book about parthenogenesis and the ancient ways of women conceiving. And there is a lot of hidden information around women especially young virgin women who go through this process of light conception and have a child, it's a slightly different process than what I'm going through. But it's, in essence, it's kind of creating a direct replica. From what I understand of parthenogenesis, the woman can only have birth or replicate a female. You can never have a male, because it's almost like a carbon copy. So it's like there is a spark of light that happens that then fertilizes the egg. Without, and so that child will come through only having DNA of the mother. There'll be no father involved. So there's all different variants.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's weird. But even in the typical, the typical that we're familiar with, I've seen where when the sperm enters the egg, I think, or when that happens, there is a spark of light.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I guess it would make sense. It happens. That occurs as well in what we would call this immaculate, non-physical conception.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
We're go ahead.
I was just going to say, and then you can add the galactic component in there, where there's all the tinkering of DNA, and I mean, I can talk about this topic for hours and go in all different directions.
Well, what about that? Because I'm fascinated by where the physical. How do I say this? Like I can see the star family being part of the physical. But then there's that non-physical part, right? So it's hard for me to kind of like put it all together. But like, for instance, with the galactic part of this, I know that you said it's a support system, it's assistance. It's not a threat. There's no violation or anything. This is sacred. And they're almost like elders or something, it sounds, that's the feel I get. Like, what, is there anything you could add on just to bring some clarity to like the role that they play?
Yeah, I think, well, it kind of goes into a lot of Mary Rodwell's work, is that I think that these children, however they choose to come through, these influx of these children coming onto the planet do hold very different DNA to where we're trying to upgrade our own to. It's like they come in already equipped. I think that there is a hybrid of genetics that is helping us refine how we identify as the new human, to use kind of Mary's terminology.
Yeah.
And I think that I can only talk in my own understanding, my own process. But in the beginning, it was very clear to me that there was a big mix of DNA within my children, or at least one of them. To me, she looks very unique and different. I couldn't say that she totally resembles me. She, the way that she actually looks is unique. And when I first started to interface with her, I was a little bit, prior to this journey, right, I was a little bit confused about how she came to me, because my immediate response was, I know that she's mine. But she doesn't entirely look like me. She doesn't entirely look like who I, think I would have children with in this life. There's this combination of uniqueness to how she looks and her energy. And I do think that there is a combination of human genetics involved, and I think that there's a combination of galactic genetics involved. I had an experience last year, I think towards the end of last year, where I go through these phases of being okay with what I know and then needing to know more. I think I'm such a seeker. I always need to know answers, at least try and find. And I have one particular being who I feel is like the master geneticist who kind of is part of the team that works with. And I was speaking to him. Just to clarify, he's a mantic being. He's, you know, the first time he appeared in my bedroom, it scared the crap out of me. But he has a really loving presence. And I was taken or shown when I first agreed to this process, like when I first agreed to doing this thing that I'm currently in right now. And he was really adamant talking about how important the mixture of the DNA is. And how it has never really been done in this way before. And that, you know, I kind of volunteered, if you will, to kind of do it in this unique way. And basically, you know, talking about how he was happy with the progress and that things were, you know, going well. And the questions that I had around that was like, what are the implications of this human experience? Like, from an emotional standpoint, from all of those aspects and it was such a typical response, because it was like they don't have emotion, you know. It's like it was like, well, that was never really taken into consideration. The focus is, you know, humanity to evolve, to bring through new children onto the planet who will have significant bearing and impact in the way that humanity, you know, grows to its full potential. Yeah.
Man, this beats the hell out of Ancient Aliens, and you know, some of that stuff gets really commercial and it's like very redundant, but this is really quality coding. I mean, I think of like Mary Rodwell when we've talked, and she talks about which, you know, seems to be like an organic support system that she's the center of. And anyway, so it's, you know, for instance, doctors and professionals that are awakening, but they can't talk about it. So, you know, I remember her telling me that somehow or another, you know, they had asked, can we form a private support group, or even some of the work with children.
Yeah.
But I can't even imagine getting a couple of dozen of those that you've, you know, come across, or those like you, and comparing notes. Like just the fact that they would even come together, like say on a Zoom call or even in the physical for a gathering would be just, I mean, the hell, that part of the world, or the world would probably just blow up, you know, as we know it. I mean, this is, and then to hear the intel through your interaction with this mantis aspect, it kind of, you know, it kind of shows that there's some serious, well, first of all, it said that this is unique. It's never been done this way. That, and then also that it's a very important, significant part of our expansion.
Yeah.
I mean, this is huge. I mean, I look at like what you said earlier at the beginning of the show. You said, you know, there's different templates, so to speak, different missions. Like you could say, for instance, divine union is a mission. You know, I know that's, Morgan told me that the day I met her. Well, it may have been the day I met her, that she knew she was here, among other things, to anchor divine union. Later on, I got the hit, you know. Then you start to see other, like maybe somebody carries the Christ consciousness template, or you look at someone like Shekinah Rose and she might carry the fairy template. You know what I mean? And you see it out there in the community, and some of it gets distorted and contorted, right? Like twin flame, right? But can you imagine I'm not even going to say if, but when this starts to penetrate into, the audio video aspect of this internet, and you could not distort that. You know what I mean? I mean, how could somebody even write about it if they're not, up to their shoulders deep in it? I mean, it's mind blowing.
Yeah.
It's mind blowing to consider what this information is going to do, what the energy, what this code is going to do to any and all that are exposed to it. Like even in this moment, and in this broadcast. Yeah, I just keep, if it doesn't make sense, go, follow it. That's and this
Believe
is
me,
like,
there was a lot that didn't make sense for me for a really, really long time.
I bet.
And still to this day, I mean, I will be the first to say I still don't know everything. Like as we well know, every time we think we know everything on a particular subject, the universe slaps us in the face. And I learn every day. I learn through connections, through conversations, through your show. I mean, every day we're learning because of people sharing their personal story and the resonance that we can have with it, whether we're going through a similar experience or if there's just a resonance there that we know that we need to just pin that for a later time. And I know that in the build up to this journey of mine, there were so many things that crossed my path that I had to pin because it didn't make sense to me. But I came back around to pick that up and go, yeah.
Well, I'm sure that if you didn't, you would have had help, no doubt. And just thinking about it, like what you said about in the conversation, the interaction with the mantis. It's not that. So, in other words, in regard to the emotion thing that you brought up to the mantis, it's not that they don't understand it. It's I can imagine being you and going, they don't understand it. You know what I mean? Like, in other words, there's a component here, and like they say, God doesn't make trash, right? I mean, like there's something about that part of it that we're actually seeing in you today through your tears and through your heart opening. That's got to have even from that higher dimensional level or that higher intelligent level, let's say of the mantis, that they can't. In other words, they can control only so much. There's this part of the human that I'm seeing in you, particularly the feminine, that is bringing this to the table. That's going to ask the question, hey, what about this? Oh, well, we didn't account for that. Well, we're going to, kind of thing. Like, you know what? This will be heard. It's not just the feminine rising, in other words, here on the earth. It's actually you're gonna hear me, kind of thing. And what that has energetically, how that affects that golden child. Like, whoa.
Yeah. And I think that's the point, Todd. Like, I've had to do a lot of getting over my human self to have the resilience to do things that I wouldn't necessarily want to do. But one thing that I know is that from when I started writing my anonymous blog to today, I know that by putting this energy out there, whether it's through talking to you or writing an article, it has definitely impacted in the collective consciousness for this to be more accepted and understood from where it was 5-6 years ago. And how can I possibly, think to myself, how can I go through the completion of this project if the world's not really ready? First of all, if I'm not ready, I have to be ready. But also the world has to be at a space to be able to, to be ready. Yeah. And so
sorry. It makes sense. It makes sense. It makes sense though, because in God, here we go again with the human thing. It makes sense, so you have this higher intelligent support that's involved in the genetic makeup, let's just say, or you have a download, or you have a channel, or you have the woo-woo, right? And to think that the world will be ready, and it's going to be due to the human aspect sharing. Now that's just like, what? You know what I mean? It's beautiful. It's fucking beautiful. It's like you couldn't write a better script. And I love that what you said to the mantis about the question about the emotional quotient. It's like, what about my fucking mind? I'm about to lose it. Oh well, we didn't count on that, but yeah. And like you said, you find the resolve ultimately from yourself and what you've created.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And from your sisters. Wow.
Yeah,
this is just like, whoa. This beats the hell out of Joe Rogan. And you know what I mean? This is like, it's just, I can't wait to talk to Mary the next time. Like, why didn't you tell me about this? You know what I mean? This is really powerful. I was out. I told you I'll be a few minutes late. I just woke up from this download. Don't even ask me what it is. These downloads coming today. These days now, you don't even know what it is. You just go, like you say, you tack it up. But you woke me up.
I'm glad you said that, because I feel the same way. I know that there's so much influxes of information, energy coming in, but my human's in a very confused state at the moment of what's happening current real time, because it's so much. It's so much to.
It is. Yeah. It brings to mind I saw a meme, and it said, I don't even know what it was. It's for some reason I tacked it, right? Like you said, and it just said calm is a superpower, right? And yeah, and calm is like calm mind. I don't need to figure this out. Calm as in being presented with energies that might have knock you off your square. I don't know. Relax, breathe. That's what I keep telling myself. Relax, breathe, and kind of get over the wow thing. I'm spent my day to day with a butterfly, one of the biggest mosquitoes I've ever seen in my life, and I'm from Texas. A white cat that I don't even know if it's physically here, to be honest with you. Okay. And I'm just in like awe. And then I have this 3 beautiful shows with 3 incredible souls. And then this last one with my friend, because I've always, since I met you, I just felt like, and it's weird. It's just weird because it's more and more people, and they're in Australia. And I'm like going, I know this person. And the same as that one over there. I'm like going, what the hell's going on here? But wow, this is just, and I know you do a lot of work. I don't get to watch a lot of stuff, but I've subscribed to you, and when I was had the privilege of being on that week that you did such an amazing job. I went back and I went back and looked at them all, and I would pop in on different ones. I wonder how long it'll be before you'll be talking to someone about this who's going through the same thing. I'm not putting the pressure on you. I'm looking. Yeah.
I think that's the focus. I did my own segment during World Unity Week with another friend who was going through a different experience. But I do have another YouTube channel that is kind of in, it's dedicated to New Earth children in all facets of it. And for years, I've been saying that's where I'm going to put my focus to that and go away from Cosmic Gateway a little bit. But I feel the call now in the last few days that's kind of, I mean, the way that I feel, the work that I've done to be honest, Todd, like World Unity Week felt like a wrap up for me. And since then, I've just been taking it really easy. My days are like walking with my dogs, making food, like really, really basic, simple human things. Because I felt like I think I've done enough in that space of, writing about energy updates and shifts. And there's so many people, amazing people that are doing that now, that I feel like I can step away from that and then dedicate and focus to this niche component that I can do good work in that space. So
I would say that
I feel to bring more women when they feel ready to talk about
it. Man, that's the third time that's happened to me. It's a lot of energy here. I know we're lagging. I'm not interrupting you. I don't mean to be. I don't want to leave you. I want to hang out with you. So I wonder if it'll start to come together like Mary with the professionals, because I remember talking to her the first time she told me, which was like, I want to say like right before COVID, like March 2020. Mm-hmm. And then I remember talking to her, let's say 9 months later, and talking about how those private groups were starting to become, a little more known. I wonder if these sisters that are part of this, if it's going to start like in little support groups.
Yeah. I think going back a few months ago, I was kind of urged to start to do just private support groups. And I did host one. It's just really hard because obviously they're spread out everywhere across the world to, say this time and, but, I do, I have a Facebook group. I think there's over 100 people in there now called Birthing a New World, where women come in to connect with other women.
Wow. I'd like to pop in on that and see what some of the posts are. That would be amazing.
Yeah. And I'm fiercely protective over that too, because I feel like, there is a light and dark side to this. Sure. Yeah. There are people who aren't going through it that are curious, that maybe don't have the purest intentions. There's all.
No, I agree. You should. You should be like a lioness guarding it with your life. I mean, yeah. And then you have the emotional quotient too. I mean, I would imagine, as vulnerability is power, I get that. And then of course, 100 divine feminine with the same kind of mission and purpose and experience. And then of course the emotional quotient of that field of, you'd have to, I don't mean like walking on eggshells, but you would have to protect it. I mean, you talked about at the top of the show, feeling tender, like somebody performed surgery on you. I mean, I would imagine there's a tenderness, double entendre, but the tenderness both ways in that group. That's fascinating. And then of course I'm like you, I'm curious. I wonder how many there are, how many groups there are like that.
Mm. Well, I mean, in the beginning, I found online there were groups that were called. There's a community that talks about cryptic pregnancy. That was a terminology that I came across. I kind of entered and exited that world very quickly because I realized there wasn't a lot of there was a lot of not understanding from a very physical level. A lot of women who were very, for lack of a better word, tortured as to why they were going through these, knowing that they were pregnant but couldn't get medical proof. And just constantly just trying to prove or get proof. Whereas I always knew from the beginning, I was like, I don't think that this is, I'm not going to be going down any sort of medical, route with this one.
So to your knowledge, I mean, like, am I keeping you?
No.
Have the women that you've interacted with, have some of them talked about interacting with their children?
Yeah.
I mean, I would imagine that would have to be a very delicate interaction as well. That I guess if it's all women in this, with that same purpose, that would be pretty much taken care of, and another reason to protect it. But I mean, do they talk to their children?
Yeah. I think one thing that you often find is that most of these journeys begin through a dream, or not. It's not a dream, but an experience within the dream space, or a higher dimensional experience, where there is almost like a the word I want to say is invitation, but like a heads up that this process is going to occur, or like these children will contact and say, like, the same way they did for me. And I find that most of these women, that at least that I connect with, are highly intuitive, very, very deeply connected to their spiritual process. Most of them are on a counterpart journey that has sparked around, a lot of it is triggered through sacred sexuality. There's that component too. There's so many components, but to get back to your question, I think that most of these women are in communication with their children. And you hear this too in just a regular process of pregnancy and conception. So many women in advance will have a dream or an interaction or an experience prior to, because I think that the link established far before they come into this world.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, and I think, when you put it in that context of, like, if we're going to have to raise these children, we're going to have to really evolve rapidly to be the best that we can be. I mean, I side joke with some of my friends about the possibility of what these children will do or be, and talking about, will they be, levitating and casting fireballs out of their hand? Like, I don't think there's anything that is off the realm of possibility. So no wonder we would have to have such crazy, wild experiences to bring them here, to be open to whatever they're here to do, be, teach, show the way.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Is that we won't be raising them; they'll be raising us. And you hear that, and I've always understood. I was told that 10 years ago. Go do your work for a few years. These kids are going to come and take it over, and you guys can kick back a little bit. But then you think, well, how's that going to work? But now this is actually, some meat on the bones, kind of. You can say, oh, I can see this now, like how this could actually work. But yeah, the first show I did today, I guess, was kind of a copy. Like, say, God, this is so crazy. I mean, Morgan talks about this all the time, how, she gives people dates, and then they pick the dates and they come on, and you look on the day and it's like there's a theme for the day, or there's some kind of sequential synchronicity, right? Well, the lady on the first show was talking about, I mean, she woke up lit, and she, it was normal to have, what we call non-physical aspects hanging out all day long, every day, and all the different things, right? Mm-hmm. So then she has a child, I think at 20 years old, and 3 or 4 years into that, she hears him playing with a playmate in his room, and then they start having a conversation. But my point is that she facilitated, she helped him assimilate with that and know that it was okay, and so it grew, right? So I see that type of, that would be the way it would work, right? I mean, these mothers who only bear this type of child, which has only her DNA, so there's already a tighter connection because there's more, it's more alike, it's more uniform, right? It's literally made in the image, right? And so then you have that human part of it, right? The emotional part of it that you brought up to the mantis, and that would have to be something that not only they would absorb, they already have it, right? I mean, they already have it. And so that would even enhance, I guess is what I'm saying, what has been, intended with purity and sacredness, like you were saying. God, mind blown. I'm absolutely like mind blown. This is so encouraging. It's so encouraging because there's no, and I'm not taking anything away. Like I said, the term twin flame, it doesn't mean the same thing anymore. But you can't taint this. You know what I mean? You can't. I mean, there's no way somebody could get out, especially in this atmosphere that we're in now, which is all about the truth frequency, right? I mean, telepathy is expanded. How's somebody going to fake this? There's no way. There's no way. So the impact of it and templates like it, I think, will be like nothing we've ever seen. Like the growth would be nothing we've ever seen. I mean, if we got 100 people on here right now, I mean, that's quickly that code transference is gonna become exponential just like that, because of the uniqueness and the specificity of what it is. It's just mind blowing. It's like, I don't even know how to grasp it.
It's a lot. It's a lot. And like, as I've had years to digest and assimilate, this frequency and energy and understanding bit by bit by bit. So I know that when I share this with people who maybe have some form of reference, but not, it's a massive data dump that does something to their consciousness. I've seen it time and time again.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, you've been through all that, and you go to Allison for a session for more clarity. So what does that tell you? It's not a rabbit hole, it's an abyss. Right? Yeah. I mean, and you're way down there and we're sitting up here, right? So it's like, if you're still going back to the wisdom well, and I met her and I think she's the same way. She's the same way. She's just a normal person who's been given a certain something, and there we go. Wow, this has been really cool. I don't even know what to say. I thought I had a download before this show started, but it's got nothing on this one.
Well, yeah. I just want to say thank you, Todd. This is. Yeah. I've wanted to come on here and talk to you about this since the beginning, and I guess finding the right time. And I always felt that you were one of the top people. If I could have a list of people that I would sit and want to have this conversation with, they could hold this space, you would be right there at that time.
Well, I just, I love you. I just have always, when you first came on, I think Monique found you, and and we always have these tech things happening, which is
No
it's
way.
not uncommon on this show, but with you, but certain people, like with you, it's just like every time, just expect it. Like every time you pop up, like, oh, I should be right back, you know. But yeah, I want to do everything I can. Soulogy wants to do everything that we can to support. This is it. I mean, this is like the best example, the newest and the best, right? I never even thought of this. I mean, I've heard of it, like I said, but not like this. This is just my. So I'm here. We're here to support that. If you ever want to talk about it, if you ever want to do anything, and I know I saw my message when I wrote you to tell you I'd be 5 minutes late. Yeah, it's typical for Todd, you know, like I'm going, let's connect. And then whew, you go off the other direction. But yeah, don't be shy. Just if anything, don't be shy, really. I mean, I'm your brother. So you just reach out. If you get a wild hair and you say, you know what, I got to do this, but I can't do it by myself or whatever. I need Todd to hold space. I'm here. I'm ready to roll. And that goes for anyone that you come across that's in the same circumstances. And I will protect it like you do. And whether it's a private thing or it's a public thing, whatever, you know. But wow, this is really great. And thank you for the gift. I mean, God, this is just amazing. I mean, and it really is. It really is, because there's no part of the multidimensionality left out. Most important, the human part of you is just coming through loud and clear. So I'm just honored and privileged, and it's a standing offer. I mean, you just let me know what I need to do. So I sir, 2 bags full. I am 2 bags full, right? As they say in the state.
Oh, thank you so much, Todd. This has just been incredible.
It's mind blowing. I hope everybody. Yeah, it seems like it just grew. The numbers just grew, so I know it's going to be well received. So, and I certainly I'd share it as much as possible. We got it out on 10 platforms. If you need me to send you the MP4, let me know.
Yeah, that would be great, actually. Yeah.
Okay, I'm in the habit now of downloading them every day. So, you know, for the archives and the database. But yeah, I'll do that right now, and I'll send it over to you the next couple of days for sure. Cool. Okay. Wonderful. Love you. Y'all take care.
Thanks, Todd.
Big day.
All right. Bye.